You're listening to Trainual's SMB Consulting Show with Bradford Jones.
Hey everyone, welcome back. We're excited to have you for another episode here. We're talking to our certified consultants from all around the world on what they are seeing and hearing and everything in this global pandemic, unfortunately. So today is March 31st. And again, the reason we're bringing up the day is because the days matter right now for businesses, right? So had this been 2 weeks ago, the conversation would be very different than it is now. So I'm really excited to introduce you to one of our certified consultants. This is Elizabeth Yarbrough from Talent Allottee here in Nashville, Tennessee. So this is my home state. So we've been talking to people all around the world, but we're excited to have Elizabeth here. Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Bradford. Really happy to be here today.
Yeah, it's great. We're excited to have you on in the Trainual family and as a certified consultant. So this is going to be great. And so today we really just kind of want to talk about what's going on. Now, you and I have a good amount of mutual experiences, I guess. I came from the hospitality industry. That's your background as well. And so I know some of what today we will focus on is hospitality related things, but we hope what we discuss today will be applicable to a good amount of different industries. But could you kind of tell me what you're seeing and what you're hearing from your clients in your network right now as of March 31st and what's going on in the world?
Sure. Yeah. Well, you're right. My clients are all based in hospitality. 100% of them are restaurants. And so that makes their challenges really big and different than maybe some other industries who do have the ability to work from home. It's obviously not a possibility to do business without being in the restaurant if you're a restaurant. And so it's been really sad and hard and challenging for all of my clients, and then for me to witness, because they've been forced to make a lot of layoffs in order to let their employees start applying for unemployment and just to try and survive as small independent businesses. So I'll clarify that earlier statement with saying I work specifically with small independent restaurants. And so they have even less resources, generally speaking, than a larger corporation with corporate offices. So the main thing I'm hearing is, how can we take care of our people despite the necessity to lay them off or cut their hours or cut their pay? There's going to be a blow in one way or another to everyone. And so my clients are just asking themselves, and we're having discussions on how can we take care of them in this really hard situation as best we can. And then, how are we going to prepare to reopen if and when we're able to?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the interesting part I've seen is like payroll has been like a number one concern for most people. I've heard of a lot of people in my network, landlords deferring rent and all that other stuff, which is great, which makes payroll the primary concern right now. And with everything that was just released with the government as far as providing assistance, like it's going to be there, but at what point? And will direct deposit every week or 2 weeks or whatever, go through. And so yeah, it's a scary time for the hospitality industry and in all industries right now, for that matter, because the world is a different place than it was 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, what good things have you seen come out of it? We've kind of started with the with the down parts of it, but what are you seeing in your network and in your clients that has been positive?
I think generally people are really, I spoke to this a little bit before already, but people are trying to show other people that they care. There's a real opportunity to do that, and to do that in a real relational way when money's not involved at all. So, for me as a consultant, my main priority has just been, how can I, this is a real opportunity to show my clients that I really care, and I'm not selling them anything. I'm just asking, what can I do for you over the next couple weeks? Is there anything I can do to help? I think for them and their employees, it's the same situation. So there's I've definitely seen demonstrated a higher level of connection between people, which is kind of ironic because we're all socially distanced and quarantined from each other. And then the other thing that I would see as positive, even though it's weird to say that, you just have to acknowledge it's weird to say that when you're in an industry that's really been just feels like it's been destroyed and you don't know how it'll be rebuilt. But the fact still remains. It's been positive to see people really thinking outside of the box and thinking, okay, we're being forced now to either completely transform our business model or think of new ways to communicate with customers or potential customers and our employees, just being really creative. And so it's exciting to me to think about a year or 2 or 3 from now, the new businesses that will have come out of this time, the new ideas, and just, things that we maybe have never seen before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you ever think that it would be approved in like the state to sell alcohol on a to-go basis?
Never. Never, especially after just electing a very conservative governor. No, I never would have thought that. But that's been great. It's been really helpful for even some of my clients to be able to just have even enough revenue to break even until they can start making money again. Mm-hmm. It's great.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good way because if you've got, tens of thousands of dollars in alcohol in stock, like that's a sunk cost on your line item. And so even if you could just clear that inventory, even if it was at a discount, after paying taxes and stuff, that would free up some cash for sure. So that's one thing I really liked about that model. But it's weird. Yeah, they're selling margaritas in gallons and things like that. And so being able to pivot like that is pretty amazing, so to say. But yeah, so with all that said, I mean, there's certainly changing things here. And what ways would you see, especially like in the hospitality industry, in your specialty, like ways that SMBs could use this as an opportunity or a time to invest in their business or to come out on the other side in a better place? What are some things you're thinking through and trying to strategize and ways to do that?
That's a really good question. I definitely believe that businesses will either change for the better or the worse through this. I think it is a real opportunity to choose how to respond, just like anything else, but this is an extreme circumstance. So the first thing that comes to my mind, and something I've talked to a couple of clients with, the one in particular that I have in mind, this client has been in business for 25 years, and he's been in the middle over the past year of a big reset in every area. He wants to reset his culture specifically. He's kind of rebranded, redecorated, everything like that. And so he and I were talking about how this is the biggest opportunity he's ever had to kind of wipe clean the slate of his culture and just rebuild it all. Not everyone is in that situation. Some business owners might have a really strong culture that they feel great about, but for anybody who wants to make some big changes and kind of cling to some new values as a team, I think this is really good timing to do that. It would be a missed opportunity to not do that.
Yeah, to your point on that, it's like, everyone loves a good scapegoat, unfortunately. And, so when you're making tough decisions like that, especially if it involves, making role changes or job changes or something like that, unfortunately, you're not always in a position from a day-to-day perspective to be able to make bold moves like that, and letting someone else make that bold move for you, and then resetting is really valuable. So I like that idea that you mentioned. It's a good time to pull the plug out and reset the modem a little bit and let it boot back up and get it where you want it to.
Yeah. Yep. And then I guess the only other thing that has really come to mind is once we're kind of, it's been an emotionally exhausting couple weeks for a lot of us. And so maybe not a lot of brain space to be thinking long term, and we don't have enough information yet to be planning for the future necessarily, because the future is so uncertain. But as that fades away and we get adjusted to a new normal, but operations haven't caught back up to where they were, I think there will be unique opportunities for having the time and the space that's required to think creatively. It's so hard to be creative when we have a mile-long to-do list every day and we're just living in the day-to-day hustle. And so, especially with my clients who they sell food, and so their work is very creative, just with the menu and the branding and things like that. I think I've already seen a couple of clients saying, we're using this time to redesign something, or just get more creative with our social media presence or the way that we're connecting with you, or create new menu items, things like that. So again, just kind of taking advantage of having too much time on your hands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be good to come out of it with some mental clarity if you can come out on the other side in the right way, you know, to kind of reset, like get those early business feelings that we all had when we had great ideas and, you know, we had capacity and, you know, that kind of thing. I think that'll be valuable. What's your take on, you know, there's so many people who resisted online ordering and just like even curbside to go or whatever it is. And it's like amazing that like people put it off for 5 years and then like in 48 hours they had it live and they were implementing it. What's your take on things like that where it's out of necessity, but now they've built the systems around it? Do you think those systems are going to stand the test of time? Like, do you think business models are going to change with that? Or do you have any opinion on whether or not like a mid-sized chain or something who has always done dine-in and never done online ordering or curbside is going to continue to add that? Or I don't know. Do you have any opinions on that?
Kind of. I wouldn't say I've formed strong opinions yet, but my thoughts there are this pandemic will probably expedite the direction that our industry has been heading anyway, which is the mid-sized casual dining businesses, restaurants. They've been slowly fading away anyway. They've been declining for the most part. It's really easy for me to see a scenario where they just kind of go away forever, possibly, and have the fast casual concept who can do carry out, delivery, and also dining, who kind of can do it all, be the ones to stick around.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing to think of because it's just, you know, amazing to think that people were like mulling over the decision to add online ordering for years. And then all of a sudden they can like make it live in 48 hours, you know, so it wasn't like necessarily a capacity issue, it was a need issue. And so now like they're going to come out and like even small, you know, mom and pop shops, like who are like, you know, I can't imagine what it was like to work at Uber Eats or whatever those companies were, you know, like from a corporate side of when they were having to add all these menus and communicate with all these people. I mean, that I was thinking from a scaling perspective, like, were they ready to onboard that many people, and how does that work? Just because, you know, the need oftentimes generates the expeditedness, I guess, so to say, of that happening. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what comes out on the other side of this. But one of the things that I think is valuable for our SMBs and people who, you know, you're consulting with is like they are nimble enough to move pretty quickly. So they do have a lot of overhead, of course, and, you know, different things, but it doesn't require the red tape and it doesn't require things like that. So is there anything in your head from like small little either daily decisions or things that, you know, people could do that you would see through this time would have a long-term impact with them. So I'm just kind of spitballing here a little bit, but things that you could be doing right now that people would think back and say 6 months later, wow, I'm really glad I did that when I had the capacity to do it.
Another good question. The first thing that comes to mind is maybe more superficial than some other things, but one thing that's been so evident to me is that, at least in the restaurant world, this is probably true across industries, the companies who are, well, it's more clear than ever before that the companies who are doing the most business right now are the ones who had a really strong social media presence, because they now have a line of communication with their customers that they didn't have before. And so, I mean, that might seem kind of, too salesy or too gimmicky compared to some other things. But I really think that 6 months from now, I think my clients would want to say, I spent that time communicating directly to my customers consistently in some way, like showing up, even if it's from behind a screen, showing up consistently and learning how to navigate that if they hadn't already, using it to create valuable content to share with people. So that's one thing that comes to mind. And
I really like what you said there, because it's the consistency and like you want to be able to tap into your network when you need it. And so if you wait until you need it, then you're going to have a really hard time ramping it up. And so, from a SOP perspective and things like that, is like, if you were consistently posting content and you had guidelines around what your content should be and how you should post it and what times, like, it would be easier to gain a following. And then when you need it, when you're like, hey, everybody, we need to sell 50 meals today to stay open, you could know that, hey, we can tap into a network to do that. So yeah, I think that's a phenomenal piece of advice, because you need it. When you need it is not the time to build it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And it's just never been more evident than right now, because I really feel for the businesses who haven't yet built some kind of a digital presence, and now they really have no way to communicate with the outside world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really interesting. I drove by a place earlier today that I saw a shaved ice truck that I'd never seen. Well, it's like 50 degrees and raining today, which obviously that's a losing battle, of course. But that a place like that needs to know where to go and needs to be able to connect with people that can move. And so we had a food truck in our neighborhood come, set up, and I found out about it via the Facebook group on our neighborhood page or whatever. So had I not left my house, I may have seen the truck rolling by, but I wouldn't have, been able to connect with it. So for as much as us SMBs, putting on my former SMB hat, we loathe sometimes the social aspect of it, what can come with it, negative reviews or just general time infrastructure that you need to do it. You need to be able to tap into it. So yeah, I really like that advice from you. What is something you're thinking about in your business as you go forward, of some strategy you may have in this time, or what are you spending your time on right now, now that you're kind of forced to stay in your house, unfortunately, like we all are? What are you working on, and kind of what's on the horizon for your business right now?
Well, my first priority has been, how can I support my clients in ways that are free? I'm not selling them anything right now because they're more or less closed or hit the pause button on operations. So checking in with them and nurturing those relationships has been top priority. But then, I next have to think, okay, what about my own business? How does this affect me? How am I going to use the next few months? How will I have to shift the ways that I'm getting revenue and whatnot? So This is actually another area where the pandemic has expedited a plan that I've had for a year or so, which is to break out of the restaurant industry and start working with other companies as well, in addition to hospitality. I started there because I came from it like you did as a business owner, and I liked it. My network was there. It was easy. It was comfortable. But my consulting work is specifically around people, and people are pretty much the same no matter the industry. And so, people and processes, those are the same. And so on an individual level, I'm just starting to look for new opportunities to work with clients in other industries. And I don't think it's going to be a huge shift because of what I was saying about, people and processes at the end of the day are pretty much the same. It's been a good kick in the butt to just kind of go ahead and do something that I may have dragged my feet to do without this situation.
The good thing I like about this, and I love you working with our customers on, is like you've lived the life of most of our, people who sign up for an account and come to us because they're frustrated with the training not working, or they've got an HR problem, but they don't have an HR department necessarily sometimes. And I just think the empathy and just being in a position that you've been in before, it connects really well with our customers at Trainual, because it's not about cooking, hamburgers or pasta or anything like that necessarily. It's more around, how do you structure the people and things like that. And so that's what I'm excited for with you working with our customers, because you've sat in that chair before. And, people who haven't sat in that chair before, you can't, it's kind of like, being in a storm on a boat or something like that. Like you think it's going to feel like until you have to make the decision yourself, and then you make the decision yourself. And that was one of the best teachers. Right. So there's a lot of alignment that someone with your skill set has with many of our customers, which is really great. So with that being said, I know we're kind of up against time, and we're both working from our homes, but we all have calendars to keep. So what can you say about your company, and just tell us a little bit about that, and then obviously people can connect with you on our trainual.com certified consultants page, but any other way people can get a hold of you as well.
Yep, great. So my company is Talent Allottee, and you can find out more at talentality.com, TALENTITY. I'm sorry, I just misspelled my company name. Talent Allottee. It'll be linked, so just forget the past 10 seconds. So we help small businesses turn their people into their competitive advantage, just meaning your people, employees are the most important part of a business because they run the business. As a business owner, you probably hear all the time, work on your business, not in your business. But what about the people who are working in your business? I just help people to increase engagement with their employees, meaning they're as happy and productive as possible. We do that through surveys and benchmarking survey data every quarter, and then making recommendations based on that. We do that through one of the biggest things actually that we do is creating training content. I like to say good training solves a multitude of business problems. Name a business problem, and there's probably poor training somewhere in there. That's probably the root of the problem. So my company just works with clients either on a project basis or on a retainer basis to make their people their competitive advantage.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we're so proud to have you as part of our Trainual network, and we really appreciate the time you spent with us today, and we will talk to you again soon.
Thank you. See you later.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Trainual's SMB Consulting Show with Bradford Jones. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you'd like to learn more about Trainual and our certified consultants, head over to trainual.com.